What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Brennan. I'm BMX45, and today we're coming at you with another video. We have a market analysis for the Digimon TCG like we do every Friday. We're here to bring you the prices of the Digimon cards, look at the current format, look at the meta, and see what's happening in tournaments, and see how that's affecting the prices of cards, especially from EX8, which has now just kind of had its first big tournaments. The Oceania and Latin American Regionals happened the past weekend, so now we get to see how EX8 is going to change the meta, how the cards from it are going to change the decks and change prices, for good or for worse on certain cards. And so we're going to get into it here. We're going to talk about that right now. And hey, if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to smash that like button, comment down below. We love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss a single minute of fun. All without further ado, let's get into it here. And we're starting with Medieval Gallantmon, the secret, one of the secrets from EX8. It's making a big splash. It's getting splashed in so many decks. It's getting put in Galaxy Mirage, in Purple Hybrid, in Gallantmon, and Dinomon. Just so many different decks can make use of this great card. So we're seeing an increase on price on this. This card was actually the lower of the two secrets when it came out, and then continuing into the format, it was decreasing at a higher rate than Gallantmon X-Antibody, but now it's actually shot up way above there, coming back to around $80, each. You can see here it was down around, 60, and then it just shot right back up there. So it's probably going to stay in that range, but it's gone way higher than a lot of people thought. It probably would keep going down. Same with the regular art here. We're looking here, and it's $60. It's just $20 less. This was around 44 before, and now it's 15, $16 more. So definitely, if you got your Medieval Gallantmons before this, you are laughing. It's crazy. Then we look at Gallantmon X-Antibody here, and he's actually coming down here. The alt art is around the $60 mark. So yeah, it's technically around the same price, if not less, than the regular art of Medieval. So yeah, but still an expensive card, especially because Gallantmon's going to do well. So I see it not really changing. I don't see it going down much more than that. In fact, I see it kind of leveling out, maybe even popping back up if Gallantmon starts to take more spots in future regionals, Ultimate Cups. In the same way, Tocado has seen a big bump here. It's continued to climb, going back over $40. We're seeing it here from 40-ish to 45. Get up to 45 real soon if you get a buyout. So this card's, if you have these around to sell, that's probably a good time to sell these. Same with the older Digimons, 55 right here, because there's not a lot of copies. Market price is putting it around 30, but this is seeing an exponential climb. Because it's such an old set, you can pretty much state whatever your price is, right? So Digimons, and the other one too, the other Digimon from the Ultimate Cup is even seeing a bit of a bump. I mean, of course, it was down around 5, now it's back around 10. So it's and it actually kind of keeps going up, down and up, down and up. But it's seen a little bit of a bump too, because this is a card that sees play in the deck as well. Dinomon itself made an appearance, and it kind of was down, around $10, and now it's kind of come back up. You're seeing it around 16 to $18 because it topped. Dinomon topped, so that's kind of cool. I don't see it going over 20. I think there's a lot of copies out there. In fact, there's some cheaper copies out there. You could see, there's a lot of, at 20. So if people really got on this deck, you could see it over 20, but it would take a little bit, I think. So I think you're safe, to wait, see maybe if it comes back down to around 15. Tounament X-Antibody, probably the best card from the promotion card pack that you got in EX8, the most valued card. It was always the highest price, still is the highest price out of all of them. That's not, it's around $7, so it's not that good, but seeing a bit of an uptick here. So you could see it maybe go up to $8 or $9 easily, maybe even 10. So definitely try and sell those if you have them and you don't need them. Ryutaro Williams. This card was like 20 bucks to begin with, 35 maybe, and then it crashed right down, and it's kind of seeing a bit of an, it's leveled off and seeing a little bit of a bump here, so I could see this going up to around 10 bucks. So, might be the time to buy right now while it's still really cheap. It's only got one win, so not necessarily does that mean things will change. Dustmon, Purple Hybrid, still dominating the formats. It's, we've seen it drop off, but it's been, from the $40 range, but still been holding at the $35 range for a while and hasn't really been changing. And I think that'll be like that for a while. Same with Velgramon. Velgramon's still holding at $30. Like, it was up there, at one point it was up a little bit higher, but it's kind of around 30 to 33 has been its kind of safe spot for the longest time, and I don't think that's really going to change. So definitely think that that's a card that you just need to figure out if you want to buy or sell, because it's not really changing anytime soon until the deck gets, power crept or hit, really. Then you have Koichi Kimura. This is the best one, and it's not that expensive, but sometimes finding a copy is the thing, because it is an older alternate art. But it looks like there's tons of copies here. You might have to pay a few more dollars, but it's still not that much of a card to worry about. Same with Mirage. Mirage is so good, but the price is never really that bad, like 10 bucks. This is this is just such a good generic blue card you can splash in so many different ways in blue decks, and it just is why it's so good in both Mirage and Mirage Galaxy. And you can see it just sticks. Or it might be $15, might be a little bit kind of under, but it's generally $10 to $15, and that's not too bad of a price to pay, honestly. Emperor Grey, there was a red hybrid in one of that was not running Ancient Grey. It was Emperor Grey build, and this card is actually quite cheap now. There's so many different versions. There's the Regionals Participant. There's the Ultimate Cup one, which is going to be pricey as all heck, but this is kind of like your middle of the line one at $10, $11. So it's not really not bad, and hybrid is always a good choice, regardless if it's Emperor Grey or if it's the Ancient Grey build. So red hybrid's always good. Patamon, 3 Great Angels, or Dominimon has continued to be like a standout that usually gets like 1, maybe 2 spots in almost like every event. So it's always going to be something, and Patamon's always going to be something that's kind of fluctuating depending on how Vaccine does. And as long as you have it in at least like one topping deck, it's probably going to fluctuate and be in that $50 to $20 range. You see, after TK, it came down quite a bit. It was like 10 bucks. But then when Dominimon finally started to make its appearance as the 3 Great Angel deck, it started to make a comeback, because it's just so important to any kind of Vaccine build, the toolbox nature of it. And there's lots of copies, so I don't see it going over 20, but again, I don't see it dropping too much more than like 15. Speaking of Dominimon, it's continued to have price increases. It was around 10 to 13 bucks, and now it's around 20, because of those tops that I've been talking about. And that's probably where it's going to stay for a while, I think. You got a few copies here, and then you might see it go a little bit higher, but I think the deck would have to get more tops in order for that to happen, or us to get some really great Vaccine / 3 Great Angel support. So I think that's kind of where that card sits. Magnamon, as always, Magnamons are all over the place. There's so many Magnamons, but you see Magnamon X-Antibody still holding up there between like that $75 to $90 range, and then $40 for the regular. So expensive to build the deck, because you need 4 of each. If depending on which way you're going, you need 4 at least of each of these. So you're either looking at $160 or almost $400. So expensive. Depending on which Magnamon alternates you want, you got this guy here is 15 bucks, and that's actually gone up. You also have the other ones here, they're a lot cheaper. And then you have your Evolution Cup stuff. That's still expensive. The only one that's cheap is your starter deck one, and you're going to have 4 of that. So Magnemon's still an expensive card and a really good deck, and it'll always usually top at least once. Fenrir Lugamon, it's the OTK deck. It always takes a couple spots. So that's a deck that, again, it's still going to be showing up. We'll see what happens. $30. Most recent sale is 36, so it's actually sold for a little bit higher. But there's lots of copies there, so I don't see the price changing too much. You can see it's actually teetering off a little bit from where it was. So, I mean, we've had it. It's kind of been in the $30 range for the longest time. It was funny because when it first came out, the deck wasn't, people weren't playing the deck when it first came out, and it actually crashed. It was like $20, so that would have been the time to buy this card. So I definitely think that that's coming past, and now it's going to be that $30 to $35 range until something happens, whether it gets power crept or it gets something in the deck gets hit. Oh, well, we already looked at Medieval Gallantmon, so I guess we don't need that one. We're also looking at Paildramon. Paildramon is actually doing, I think it's actually come down a little bit. I haven't seen as many Imperial Dramon tops. It doesn't show it, but I know it was higher at one point. I guess it maybe did have a crash, and that's starting to build up again. Still an expensive card, but we're not seeing as many Paildramon tops, so we might start to see this card go down. So I think if you're a Paildramon player or you're Imperial player, you might want to sell these now before the deck starts to go, because everyone's going to be raging for Virus Imperial, which is why we're seeing this card get a spike here. You see the whoop whoop, getting a real big hit here, and then kind of leveling off. Although I don't know if we're gonna play these ones, honestly. There's so many different versions now. You got 2 new Paildramons. So you got the new Paildramon, the new Dino B, plus you got the old ones, plus you got the DNA Partition Dino B. So you got so many choices now in the deck. It's just kind of crazy. And then lastly, we have Davis and Ken. This card's actually seemed to actually come down quite a bit compared to where it used to be. It used to be around $50, $60, and it's coming down too. So again, Imperial Dramon is starting to see a price decrease. So if those are cards that you really wanted to get, I mean, I would wait a little bit and just see, because you might be able to get them a little bit cheaper, especially if the deck is kind of getting to the point where it's not topping as much. It's definitely going to see a bit of a decrease. We're seeing here with the Davis Ken. We're not seeing it generally with the Paildramon, but the Paildramon is definitely lower than when the last time we looked, because this was a solid $60 to $75 card. And if we go back, we can look at this. I know this was up around $23. So yeah, you can see that the super is actually cooled off a little bit here too. So there is definitely a cool off period on these cards, which took a long time because BT16 was back in May. So almost a year for these cards to just start cooling off. So definitely if you have them and you're done with the deck, sell them right now, because I think the price is just going to keep going down. But hey, that is everything we're going to talk about today. Changes in the meta, just changes in general. The Nationals was really cool. The deck profiles were really cool. And I did do a lot of changes to the meta with the addition of Gallantmon, with the addition of Medieval Gallantmon, kind of sticking their nose in there and and making trouble for the other decks. So it has been very interesting, and I can't wait for Ultimate Cups in February. Going to have one next weekend, so that'll be cool. And can't wait to try my hand and hopefully get some more of those Rise Greymon top 32 prize cards if I can do well. But looks like that's all the time we have for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you in the next video. As always, have a wonderful day. And that's all for now, folks.